one of our favorites, Brian Windhorst from ESPN, joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Brian? Good to see you, man.
I'm just laughing at that micro impression. I liked it.
It's all good, man. It's great to see you, man. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. Where have we found you? What backdrop is that?
No,
Where we going?
I just threw a screen. I know it looked. Yeah, I'm in Denver today. No, I'm in my house, but I just threw I've got like 40 backdrops, and I just threw a cityscape.
I like it. Very
Would you like me to change? Would you like something else?
No. I mean, I didn't know you take requests. I have no idea.
Yeah. Where can I go for you, Rich?
This long distance dedication.
Let's go to Oklahoma City, Rich.
Okay. Let's go to Milwaukee. Or put up the background where you think Giannis wants to go.
Yes, there you go.
How about that? What is going on with Giannis?
Yeah,
Brian?
I can understand why it's frustrating. You heard Doc Rivers' comments last night, and I can understand why he's frustrated. Because, we've seen over the last decade, we've seen a number of star players say, okay, I'd like to no longer be here. In fact, this is, let's just go back 1 year and see what happened with Jimmy Butler, where Jimmy Butler made it very clear he no longer wanted to be with the Miami Heat, and he went on like a 6-week-long, rampage to get what he wanted. And in the end, he got to the place that he wanted for the contract that he wanted, and that team ended up being really good the rest of that year. They didn't end up winning anything, but that's kind of more the norm. Giannis has not, viewed it that way. Giannis has not, gone up and said, I want to be traded. Giannis has just expressed frustration, and his agent has had to be sort of the guy behind the scenes that has talked about stuff. And so I understand that what people want is, does he want to be traded or not? It's a simple yes or no question that doesn't have a simple answer, because he's elected to sort of try to go through the process without having a firm decision. He's just not thrilled with where they are, but he doesn't know if he wants to go forward. So in the last 24 hours, as I've talked to people from across the league, the question that they're all asking me is, do you think Giannis will actually ask for a trade? Because he's rattled the saber before. As my colleague Shams Charania, he reported a few months ago, over the summer, Giannis was really open and in the mindset of becoming a New York Knick, to the point where the Bucks and the Knicks had trade conversations. It was not the Bucks' idea, I promise you, Rich. And it was not. The Knicks weren't expecting it. It kind of came out of the blue for them. It was started by the Giannis side. Now, did Giannis come and look anybody in the eye and say, trade me to the Knicks? No, he didn't. But those talks took place because that was on the table. So the Bucks are aware that they're in a tenuous position, and they just, they got their biggest win of the season last night. Giannis had an injury, and luckily not a severe injury, a moderate injury to his calf. But fortunately, that is not what we were talking about today. But when they lost to the Wizards on Monday, they fell to 9-13. They were in 10th place in a very sort of, not overly impressive Eastern Conference. The Bucks know that they're in trouble with Giannis. They know that they're pushing it. And so the question really is now, will Giannis cross the Rubicon in the line and say, trade me? I don't know the answer to that. But I do know, and Shams has reported on this for months, that it's something that Giannis is very much considering. And I know that that's frustrating to hear that gray area, but that's just where it is.
No, I know. So the trade talks that you're referring to involving Giannis over the summer that did involve the Knicks was inspired by a vibe the Bucks picked up?
No,
I mean,
come
like,
on.
so no, I'm serious. Like,
No, they were told. They were told.
Right.
So, like, hey, I'm a big actions over words guy.
Yes,
okay.
Sir. Yes, sir.
The Bucks do this deal where they cut Dame Lillard. That costs them $100 million for a player who's not going to play for them anymore. Then they sign Miles Turner. They took a $100 million issue, which was a player that had torn his Achilles in his mid-30s and was owed $100 million, and they doubled down and made it a $200 million investment. The $100 million they're going to pay Dame to no longer be on their roster, and the $100 million they paid to Miles Turner. So they make a really expensive, gutsy move, okay? Giannis sees that move, And his representation says, he wouldn't mind being a Knick. Now, I want you to think about if you're the Bucks. So I promise you, the Bucks did not make a $200 million double down and then say, I wonder if the Knicks are interested. The Knicks, okay, here's how I know that they didn't think this was coming. Because in the last week of July, they signed Mikal Bridges to a contract extension. And once they did that, he was untradeable for 6 months. And I want to just go through the nuance here. I know that when this gets chopped up in aggregation, the nuance will be exploded. But just for this audience and this time, we'll do some nuance.
Thank you, sir.
It's not necessarily that they were like, we're going to trade Bridges for Giannis. But if you're about to enter into a negotiation for a top 5 player in the league, you don't make a deal with a player that takes him off the table to be traded. Okay? So we get to the end of July, and the Knicks do this deal with Mikal Bridges. They feel good about it. They feel good about their team. So I promise you the Bucks were not looking to this negotiation. And I promise you the Knicks weren't preparing for this negotiation. And I promise you the negotiation took place. What are we left with, Rich? Okay, did he ask to be traded? I mean, Doc Rivers can look you in the eye and say, no, he didn't ask to be traded. But clearly, this was an action that Giannis had some interest in. And look, because he didn't demand to be traded, he wasn't traded. They talked, the two sides talked, no deal came through. Giannis said, I'm going to be in Milwaukee, to use his words, for the next 6 to 7 months. The Bucks signed his 2 brothers, and we went off into the season. And the season hasn't gone very well. And now Shams is saying today he's looking at 2 to 4 weeks being out. The Bucks are 1-5 when he doesn't play. Like, I hope that they're able to rally and hold the fort, but where are they going to be at in 2 to 4 weeks? They're in 10th right now. They did have a great win against the Pistons last night, and I mean that is a very impressive victory. They needed it. The Pistons were 17-4. Cade Cunningham played in the game. Jalen Duren played in the game. It was not any sort of asterisk on this. It was a bona fide, real win. They beat them down the stretch. They've been one of the best clutch teams. The Bucks outperformed them down the stretch. But, this is just what's happened. And so I know that there's this real need and desire. And if I was a Bucks fan, I would be frustrated too. And if I was another fan who wanted to trade for Giannis, I would be frustrated too. But this is the landscape that we've got here. This is the way Giannis has decided to approach it. This is the way the Bucks have decided to approach it. And so I know that Giannis is, concerned about his future. And I don't know how it's going to play out.
Brian Windhorst here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's move to Chris Paul then. What is your reporting on the breakup, why, and how it was communicated, Brian?
Well, that's 2 different things. How it was communicated. I think we can all agree that was an F. If you want to take Lawrence Frank at his word, the Clippers president, which I will, they decided that he was going to be sent home on Sunday, which makes me wonder why he was in Miami on Monday and why he was still in Miami all day while they had plane problems on Tuesday and while they decided to have a meeting at 11 p.m. Like, it's not the way to handle a two-way guy, quite frankly, much less handling a first ballot Hall of Famer who, I think their intention was to raise his number to the rafters. And, when you go into the Hall of Fame in basketball, it's not like baseball. You don't wear a hat. But, I mean, he could have gone into the Hall of Fame essentially as a Clipper. And so you just don't treat somebody that way. And so the execution of the message delivery was an absolute fail. I don't think there's anybody who could argue any differently.
Did somebody knock on his hotel room door in after hours, essentially, and say, this is official, Brian?
The story as Lawrence Frank told it, and I'm not in position to, was that they made the decision on Sunday. They played in Miami on Monday. It was an embarrassing performance for a number of reasons. Then, as you often see, teams will stay over in Miami after a game. And they were going to fly in the mid-afternoon Monday, which is normal. Teams typically travel on travel days in the mid-afternoon. And then they had plane trouble. I think they actually ended up having to replace the plane. But whatever, instead of leaving at 3, they left not until after 8. And they flew up to Atlanta, and instead of landing at 4:35, they landed at almost 10.
Right.
And so the meeting that they had planned to have in the mid-evening or early evening, ended up happening at 11 p.m. And so the meeting lasts 3 hours, and at 2 a.m. they're done with it. And Chris Paul at that point announces to the world he's being sent home. If the decision was made on Sunday, I don't know why he was even in Miami. But, there may have been some other factors that I don't understand. But so the rollout of this, again, I don't think it's controversial at all. I think everybody would say that was handled poorly. I don't think you should handle anybody that way on your team, much less, again, a first ballot Hall of Famer. The decision itself, and I know everyone's, Ty Lue was like, oh, it wasn't my call. And players have been like, oh, it's news to us. And Lawrence Frank has come out and said, I'm the bad guy, blame me. But of course, it's more complicated than that. But I think essentially is that Chris Paul is a guy who is very vocal. And he is, for 20 years, been described as a leader by his teammates and his coaches. But just go look up the video from any Chris Paul game from the last 20 years, and you will find him giving his opinion to the official, giving his opinion to the opposing coach, giving his opinion to his coach, giving his opinion to his star teammates, giving his opinion to the role player teammates, giving his opinion to the trainers, giving his opinion to the ball boys. That's just what you can see on the cameras. This is who Chris Paul is. And when you are a star point guard who almost always has made your team better, that's part of the package that you wanted with Chris Paul. You want your point guard to be like your quarterback, to direct guys, to do this. I mean, it was Chris Paul being proactive and like walking in the Hollywood Hills with Bob Iger, taking the bull by the horns, that got the NBA bubble put together, okay? That's who Chris Paul is. Chris Paul sees a situation that needs addressing. He addresses it. And for 20 years, his teams always succeeded. I think he made the playoffs like 14 or 15 straight years. His teams were always striving to be better. They were not underachieving teams. Maybe there was 1 or 2 years where they didn't go farther in the playoffs, or maybe that you thought should have been the 2 seed and they were the 4 or whatever. But for the most part, he was on achieving teams, and he was the starter. He was the 82-game starter last year in San Antonio. So this year, he's in a position where he's the same guy, and now he's playing a bit role where he's, the second or in some cases the third string point guard. And the team, instead of being achieving, where he's one of the stars, was woefully underachieving. And so I think it hits differently in the locker room when you're a bit playing role player, still being the guy who was the starting point guard and first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, you can say that why didn't the Clippers understand that when they signed him? And I would just say they thought they did. And there was a lot of things about this roster in this season that the Clippers thought. For example, the Clippers thought that they could replace Norman Powell with Bradley Beal and they'd be fine. That's obviously been a dramatic miscalculation and is one of the main reasons why they are 6-16 and woefully underachieving. Having Chris Paul's personality not fit on a losing team is a miscalculation, but not the most egregious miscalculation. The fact that they handled it this way, which is, like I said, the F- apart this all, exacerbated this and made it look really worse, and is just part of another miscalculation that has basically defined the season.
Well, wow. Number one. Number two, Chris Paul doesn't want to go out this way at all. So what happens now? Where does he wind up?
So it's complicated. I saw headlines yesterday saying the Clippers have released Chris Paul. In fact, they have not. He has not been released, and he will not be released, I don't think, for the foreseeable future. And he has not been traded, and he's not even allowed to be traded for at least another 11 days. I don't know how much you want me to get in the weeds here. NBA teams have to have 14 players on their roster. It is the rule. The Clippers have 14. The Clippers only have about $1.2 million in space that they're allowed to spend under the first apron. I know it's exhausting to talk about this, but if they cut Chris Paul today, they do not have enough money to sign another player, okay? So they have to do one of two things. They have to trade him to another team, which I said they can't do for 11 days because as a newly signed player, you can't be traded until December 15th. Or they have to agree to a buyout where he would take less money and they would have money because his money is guaranteed. either way, you're talking about negotiation and seeing how things play out. So what I would expect is that Chris Paul does, I have a good feel that Chris Paul does want to continue this year. He is going to retire at the end of the season. He does not want to go out this way. So I think he will look for an opportunity that makes sense. Maybe that opportunity is there now. Maybe that opportunity will present itself. Maybe it's a trade that gets worked out. Maybe he gets cut and signed. But the Clippers are not really in position where they can just cut him right now. And so he will not be cut. And so he will live in this exile nether region for some period of time. I'm not sure how long. Hopefully not too long for his sake.
So knowing all those rules, as I'm sure the Clippers front office did, makes me think that's a lot of opinions he was sharing for them to just say, we're done. We're done. And you're not only done, you're done here in Atlanta. And I know this is not going to play out well in the media, and it's not the way we wanted it. Probably they envisioned it. But my gosh.
As somebody who's been around, right, somebody who's been around pro sports and is a problem-solving person,
right,
you may be seeing why the story that we're being told isn't 100% the actual story, because nobody would say, oh, the plan is to cut him in the hotel in Atlanta at midnight. Obviously,
nor do they want to say that. Nor do they want to say he was so insufferable to be around, and he with us that because of what's going on that we just can't have. You know what I mean? Like I just said the words of what I'm trying to pick up from all this. My goodness gracious! So let me ask you. Let's finish up the conversation with this. When Giannis returns. Let's say it's a month from now. Doc said, right. But I mean, this sort of stuff. How many times have we seen calf strains turn into something far worse, right? So let's just say, let's give it the month here. Doc did say we're just a 10-game win streak away from this thing going away. I
agree with that. If they win 10 in a row, it would go away.
They got 9 more to go. They got 9 more to go. And so let's just say they might not win 9 more in a row. They come back, he's healthy, or at least everybody believes he is. Play it out for me. What trade deadline is when, and who might be interested, and I'm imagining this won't be a pocket listing just for the Lakers if it happens. So what do you think? Play it out for me, Brian.
So this is the conversations I've been having for a day now.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
So the question is, and obviously the injury is a new factor in all this. So I don't know how it affects it. Okay.
Right.
Will Giannis simply rattle the saber like he has in the past? And the Bucks, when he's rattled the saber in the past, there were times when Giannis, you can go back and look at it. I won't give you the exhaustive, but for example, Giannis a few years ago said, I'm not going to sign the contract extension that they have on the table right now. I'm just going to wait. And then they traded for Dame Lillard, and he signed the contract extension. Okay, he had another contract extension. They trade for Drew Holiday. He obviously had some angst the way this last season ended. They go out and make this Miles Turner trade. I think they're pretty much out of moves, but John Horst and the Bucks ownership have pulled off some things. Like maybe there's a move that they could make where they get a player, and it does help that maybe they don't go 10-0, but maybe they go 6-4 or 7-3, and Giannis comes back, because this has happened. Giannis has radically changed before, so people wonder, will he actually ask for the trade? That's an unknown. That's number one. Number two, let's say that he does ask for the trade. Is it a situation where it's, in August, it was a one-team list. It was the Knicks. If he does ask for that trade, are the Knicks still number one? Or is it 3 teams, 4 teams, 9 teams, 13 teams? I don't know. The third thing is Giannis, after this season, has 1 year plus a player option left on his contract, but essentially 1 year. When we see players in this situation, Jimmy Butler was an example of this. Last year, Jimmy Butler had 1 year left on his contract. Anybody who traded for him knew that they had to have a contract understanding with him. So when he went to Golden State, they negotiated a contract extension with the trade, and he signed it. Now, Giannis is not eligible to sign an extension for rules that I won't get into right now, but you certainly would want to know that if you traded the sun, the moon, and the stars for Giannis, that he intended to sign next summer. So the question would be, does Giannis get to control this if he actually asks for a trade? And I have talked to a bunch of people in the league with this exact question, and I thought the answer would be yes. He's been there 12 years. He won a championship. He's won 2 MVPs. They want to respect for him. They want the most that they can possibly get in a trade. Giannis, they would work with Giannis. Not everybody agrees with me. People in the league think that the Bucks, if they had to, would make a deal where they wouldn't do what Giannis wanted. I don't believe that. I believe that Giannis would basically choose his team. So if you're a Laker fan, which is really what you're getting to, Rich, what you're saying, because the Laker fans are like, well, when are you going to say how he's getting to the Lakers? Like, when are you getting to that?
Yeah.
If Giannis said to the Bucks, trade me to the Lakers,
Yes, sir.
he would be a Laker. But any other way, I don't see how the Lakers do it, because I don't think the Lakers can win a bidding war. Okay, if it's a bidding war where there's teams offering draft picks and players and stuff, because I don't know how long-winded you want me to go here, but the Bucks don't control their next 3 drafts. Okay, so the Bucks starting a rebuild where they like, okay, we're gonna sink down and get, that doesn't work because they don't control their picks. So the Bucks probably are either going to want real players who help them today in a trade, or they're going to want draft picks from a third team. What I mean by that, a third team, is me having my draft pick doesn't work. I don't control the next 3. I'm trading you Giannis Antetokounmpo. Your team's going to be awesome. Giving me your draft picks for the next couple of years aren't doing me any good. Do you have third team picks that might be valuable? And so these are all things that would be valuable. I don't think the Lakers have a package that can win out teams that have draft picks, have good players, and have third-party. There's teams out there that are good teams that have third-party draft picks that could offer. So I don't think the Lakers can win a bidding war. But if Giannis says, make me a Laker, yes, there's a deal there that could happen because the Lakers have a bunch of expiring contracts that I think could make it. But I do think it would be a bit of a journey to get there, but not impossible.
All right. Plus, I don't think John Horst wants to have his name in the rafters next to Nico Harrison's as a retired jersey in crypto.
Yes,
fans of the Lakers
Luka
are
didn't
trying to
say a word. That's the difference. That's the difference.
Well, I'm sure. Wild, man. This is wild. Listen, I know I've kept you.
Or he doesn't ask for it at all, and he's a Buck for the next 6 months. What do you want from me?
It could be. What do you want from me? Hey, man, I know I've kept you so long, but you want to spend a minute on the last time when we spoke forever? You're like, we're not paying attention to Jokic enough. And then that night he drops 55 on the Clippers, and right now he is 100% in the averaging a triple-double for the season, with shooting almost 62% from the floor. It's insane what he's doing.
I just want you to know that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander
yes, sir,
is on a team that is 21-1.
Yes, sir.
He just put up a month where he is a reigning MVP, a finals MVP, all that stuff. He just had one of the best 6-week stretches of his career on a team that's 21-1. He did not win Western Conference Player of the Month, and I agree. I agree that it was Jokic, because Jokic was so amazing that he even overcame that, is how great that he has been.
I figured you'd want to have the floor on that, and we should be paying more attention to what's going down there. And then maybe that's why you chose that as your backdrop. Denver, Colorado. Good to see you, Brian.
I didn't think about that. There he goes.
Thanks,
there he goes. He's flying across the sky.
There he goes to block another shot to maybe get a quadruple double. Thanks, as always. You're the best.
Have a great day,
Thanks, pal. Right back at you. Brian Windhorst, nobody better. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.